Welcome to the YouTube channel of Dan the 3D Printing Dad.
Hey, this is Dan, the 3D Printing Dad. I just wanted to preface this video with a little bit of a comment. Unfortunately, the Windows Recorder does not appear to actually record dialogues unless you record the entire desktop. So, my bad. This tutorial is going to be a little bit more difficult to follow as a result of that. I will do my best to annotate certain key presses and so on that I actually performed in Fusion 360. I think with regards to the other programs, the file dialogues, etc., that's probably a little bit more self-explanatory, so I'm not going to be doing too much work there, but just know ahead of time that there are parts of this that might be a little bit more difficult to follow. I apologize for that, but rather than spend another, hour or so recording this and editing and so on, I am just going to do my best to annotate, and hopefully that is enough. And if for some reason you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, and thank you very much for your attention. All right, everyone. I thought I'd do a tutorial here, as there seems to be some interest in how I did some of my multicolor prints on my single extruder, single color, single nozzle Prusa i3 Mark III. And this is probably not going to be necessarily the best way, but it is a way that you can do this with completely free tools. It also results in a single file, which I find to be quite handy, as opposed to having to do multiple files. And well, with that, why don't we get started? I'm actually going to do a project very similar to the one that I did for the holiday box for the shipping employees. So in this case, I'm just going to do one of the logos, and we'll kind of follow through that process here. So obviously the first thing that we need to start with is a sketch. So we'll go ahead and start with that sketch. Okay. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to insert an SVG, or a scalable vector graphics. I downloaded this off the internet, of course. And this is a UPS logo. Now, one thing I noticed with SVGs in Fusion 360 is they can be a little bit wonky in their scale. I'm not sure if it's because of the units or what, but I notice also when I adjust the scale here in the XY plane, that in turn can actually get really messed up if I scale it more than once. I'm just going to go ahead and scale it to 3, and doing so results in something that's a bit more than 25 millimeters. So this is going to be more than an inch wide and an inch tall, which should be sufficient detail for an FDM printer. Now, in addition to this, I want to do a horizontal flip. Now, the reason I'm doing that is that I'm going to be printing this face down on the printer, and so I want a mirror image. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hit OK, and we have our logo. Now, obviously, as we're going to be printing on an FDM, some of the stuff, smaller stuff, is going to be a little bit too detailed. So I'm going to go ahead, with my apologies to UPS, delete the registered trademark. Okay. The next thing is I'm going to get rid of these complex curves here. This is just going to be a single tone shield. Now, by doing a double click on this, you'll notice it actually selects the entire enclosed object, which is handy. Go ahead and hit delete. And I'm going to go ahead and again double click on this curve. And we're left with a simple shield with the UPS lettering inside. All right, that looks good. Now I'm just going to do a rectangle. Now, first thing, before I do that, I want to get the width of this. You'll see why in just a moment. Okay. All right, so you notice this is approximately 31 millimeters wide. That 0.2, 0.3, we can really kind of throw away for the purposes of what I'm going to be doing here, because it's really not going to be that noticeable. All right, so 31 millimeters, we'll just kind of file that away in our memory here. Now I'm going to do a rectangle. So to do that, I'm going to hit R. All right. And when I click here, you notice this is 5 millimeters up and 5 millimeters to the left of the origin. Now, because of that, I want to go about 5 millimeters on the other side. Now, you remember I said that this was 31 millimeters wide, okay, approximately. I'm just going to eyeball the height and just kind of make it look, because the height isn't going to be so important if I get that centered or not. It's more the width. Okay, so now I'm going to just do 41 here. Looks good. All right, hit enter. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to actually fillet or round off these corners. Go ahead and hit fillet. Click on that corner there. Now that 10 millimeters is a bit extreme. I'm just going to back that off to 5. And while that's still highlighted, click on each one of the corners, and I'll continue to get 5 millimeters on all 4 corners. Hit enter, and now I got my rectangle around that. That looks pretty good. So why don't we go ahead and stop this sketch? All right. Now, the next bit, I'm going to do some extrusions. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this outline. This outline is, I want to be in a white color. So you'll see the process here. It's going to be a little bit unusual, but try and follow along here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select that, and I'm going to hit E for extrude. All right. Now I'm going to do a 0.3 millimeters, and this is going to be apparent why I do it that much here, and just later on in the video here. But 0.3 millimeters is what I want. All right. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to hit OK. All right. Now my sketch goes away. That's normal. Go ahead and select that back. Okay. Now hide the bodies here. I'm going to select everything now. All right. I'm going to hit extrude again. E for extrude. Now, this time, bring that body back. This time I want to actually offset by 0.3 millimeters. You'll see why it's going to make sense in just a little bit. So first of all, I want to do an offset plane. I'm going to say 0.3 millimeters. All right, 0.3. Okay. And now I'm going to actually say distance of, I wanted this to be about 3 millimeters 6, so we'll do 2.7, because 2.7 plus 0.3 is 3 millimeters in total. Okay, we'll do a join. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to rotate around just to show you what it looks like. Okay, so now we have this hollowed out area here. This is all one piece, and when I do the G-code, if I do it in the appropriate order, I'm only going to have to swap out the filament twice, and that's kind of important to minimize the amount of work that you do manually. All right, go ahead and rotate this back around. Okay, now I'm going to hide the bodies once more. Now I want to, it's not so important which ones we do next. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to extrude these here. All right, again, I'm going to do 0.3 millimeters. All right, 0.3. Now the reason I rotate this around is so I can make absolutely sure that the arrow is pointing in the right direction. All right, so 0.3, yes, I want those bodies to show. Now you notice it goes to join. I actually want this to be a new body. All right, go ahead and do that. Okay, once again, hide this. Now you can do a long click on these in order to select things in the background, but I find it's just a lot faster to just hide those bodies. And yeah, hide those bodies. Okay, hide the bodies in Fusion 360 and go on with my work. Again, I'm doing extrude here, 0.3. Make those other bodies appear again. Again, I want to do new bodies. I'm going to click OK. All right. All right. So now if I wheel myself around here, I'm going to see everything is there. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and hide the sketch for now. All right. Now, Fusion does do a nice thing about outlining these. I can kind of verify that these are all here by going ahead. Okay. Got the shield there. Okay. I can get rid of those for the shield and the inside of the P. And then the U, P, and S I can get rid of like this just to make sure. This is just good verification, making sure everything is there. All right. Now I want to actually make these posts that I had that stuck through the cardboard. Now this isn't actually all that difficult. First thing I want to do is I want to create a sketch, but I want to create a sketch on the back of this placard here, or this sign. So I'm going to go ahead and hit sketch, and I'm going to hit the back face of this. All right, and there we go. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit a C for circle, and just kind of put it somewhere I think is going to be all right. You know what? I honestly don't want it latching on. You know, Fusion again has a habit of latching on other things that are visible. So there we go. I'm going to get rid of that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the circle, oh golly, we'll just put it here. I would say 5 millimeters in diameter, okay? There we go. Now I want these to be symmetric. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hit L for line. And I'm going to mark, you notice that triangle there, right to the left and above the X. That means that I am centered on my object. Okay, so if I do that and I draw a line, okay, it doesn't matter how long in this case. I'm just going to say that, make sure it's 90 degrees. I can lock that in if I want to. Hit enter, there we go. Now, I don't want this to be an actual line. I want it to be a construction line. So I click on it, hit X, and now it's a construction line. Now we're going to do a mirror. We'll go up to Sketch, Mirror. First thing I need to do is select my circle. That's the object I want to mirror. And my mirror line is going to be that construction line I just created. Hey, there we go. We have our two posts that are going to be used to poke through the cardboard. Go ahead and hit Stop Sketch. All right. So I'm going to show those sketches again. Now if I go in, zoom in, and I select these circles, sometimes Fusion is a little picky. Go ahead and hit those. I'm going to go Extrude. Now I found out that my corrugated cardboard box is about 4 millimeters in thickness. So I'm going to go ahead and extrude this by 4 millimeters. All right, looks good. Real easy. Now you notice it did a join. That's great. So it's going to be part of this first body here. Now I'm going to select these two circles on the extruded posts, holding down Shift. All right, I'm going to hit Extrude again. Now this is where the magic happens. All right, so I'm going to extrude this for 2 millimeters. And I'm going to say a tapered angle of 35 degrees. That's going to taper it out. And again, join, hit OK. Once again, I'm going to hit these circles there and there, extrude again. And this time, I'm going to extrude a distance of 3 millimeters. And I'm going to do a negative 45 degree. All right. Now this is going to give me a nice taper that's fairly sharp, but at the same time should be easily printable. It doesn't come to a very sharp point. Those top discs should be pretty easy to print. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. And there we go. If I rotate this around, you can see those posts. Those will be sharp enough that they will actually be able to penetrate the cardboard. And the shape that we have here is actually going to, once I go all the way through the cardboard, it'll actually hold on to the cardboard. Pretty handy. You'll notice, of course, again, that's part of that first body, so it's all in one, and that's great. That's going to make it easy to print and all that as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save my work. Probably should have done that along the way, but there you go. Now I'm going to actually export this as all one STL. All right, so go up here, named views. There are a number of ways to do this. I could actually group all these bodies if I really wanted to. Oops, I apologize. I need to actually go up to this logo demo and right click. But I'm not going to group these together. I'm just going to go ahead and save as an STL. It'll automatically be grouped into one STL. All right, so I got that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to call this logo demo v2 in my 3D file shipping logos. Save. Fantastic. All right, in just a moment, we'll go on to the next step. Alrighty, well, now we actually get to the slicing. Now, for my purposes, I'm going to use Slicer Prusa Edition. There are a number of other slicers that you can do something like this, and I'm sure, but the reason why I'm doing this is that this is a known quantity for me. This is the one that I use for the process that I had to do the multicolor prints before, and I want to show you the exact process that I went through. Again, this is not necessarily the best, but this is the way that I did it, and I know it's pretty reliable. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to add this logo that I actually created. Okay, bring that in. All right, and there we go. Now you'll notice off to the right, we just have one STL. Okay, that's not really going to be very helpful when we actually want to do our prints. So what I actually need to do right now is I need to split this. So I'm going to go ahead, right click on the object and hit split. Now you notice we have all of these here. So this one here is highlighted green. That's the main one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete these others. This is not, again, this is not maybe the most efficient way of doing things, but this is the way that I know is reliable. So this is the thing minus the shield and the lettering in the middle. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to make sure that no support is on. I have no brim. And if I go to my filament settings, another bit that's kind of important, I'm sorry, my print settings, is I do not want to have any skirt, okay? No loops for my skirt. If I have a skirt here, when I do the next steps later on, it's actually going to make things a lot more difficult. All right, so there we go. All looks good. I am going to go ahead and make sure, oops, you know, my print settings, I am at 0.2. Now, my first layer height I have at 0.3 millimeters. Now, do you remember when I did my first extrusions, they were all at 0.3? And the reason why I did that 0.3 is that that's going to give me just a little bit extra plastic so that even some of the brighter colors are going to be a little bit more opaque. If I did it at 0.2, things are going to be a lot more translucent. The colors aren't going to show up as well. All right, so 0.3 for my first layer height is going to allow me to get a deeper color for these. Subsequent layers are all going to be 0.2, although for the purposes of this, it probably isn't super important. You could probably do a coarser layer height if you wish. All right, go ahead and I'm going to slice this. All right, and I'm going to export this G-code, and let's go back to my 3D files. We're going to go to my shipping logos. I'm going to create a new folder. We're going to call this G-code. Okay, go in there. Okay, so this is, I'm going to actually say that this is the main body. All right. Now, first thing I want to do is I want to actually say this is the last one that I want printed. Okay, I'm going to say this is order 3. Because I'm going to have 3 total colors. Go ahead and hit save. All right, looks good. Now we're going to go ahead and delete all. I'm going to add back to the logo again. All right, once again I'm going to split. And once you get doing this, this is actually fairly quick and easy. Go ahead and delete that. All right, so now why don't we do the lettering? You know what? Actually, let's do the shield. Okay, so that's going to be actually part of the shield. The shield is going to be in a darker color, and I like to print the darker color first. Okay, that'll be apparent in just a moment. So I'm going to delete the U, P, and S, not necessarily in that order. Okay, go ahead and slice again. All right. You know what, one thing is always a good idea is to do a preview. I neglected to do that before, but this is just going to give you an idea that for sure things look all right. You notice how clear those letters are. It's going to look great. All right. Go ahead and export this G-code. This time I'm going to call this shield. Now, again, I said that darker colors tend to be best printed first. I'm going to go ahead and say a 1 for this. This is going to be the very first thing I print because the shield on the UPS is a brown color. All right. Go ahead and that. And sometimes, you know, this is another thing you might consider doing. You could actually put in brown. That'll also help too, perhaps. So you can identify things a little bit better. All right. And there we go. Delete everything again. Okay. Go back and add. This is our last step for this one because we only have the 3. So, again, last time I'm going to do my split. Delete this. Okay, now I can delete the shield. And there we go, we're left with the UPS letters. Go ahead and slice. Feel free to do this in whatever order that you feel is appropriate. I know this seems a little bit out of order in this case, but okay. I mentioned that this one I'm going to do second. So UPS, and you know what, I called this gold. We'll say it's gold. Okay, order 2. All right, go ahead and save that. And now we have all the G-code that we need. And it's possible now to move on to the next step. So, all right, now we come to the final and probably the most complex part of doing the multi-part or multicolor print. And this is one that you'll need to pay special attention to because of some of the things that I'm going to be doing. Now, I'm going to assume that you have a flavor of Marlin on your printer that accepts the M600 code for filament changes. That's going to make things a whole lot easier. Now, first thing you're going to need to have is a decent text editor, and I mean something other than the built-in Notepad in Windows. That's not great. So I recommend getting Notepad++, again, a free tool, open source, easy to get. You don't even have to install it. You can actually download this and do an in-place installation, which is really handy, I find. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up my first file. So hit Control-O for open. Now, I'm going to actually start backwards. I'm going to go with the main body third or last part first, okay? And it'll make a little bit sense of why I do it this way. So now first thing is that Prusa, Slicer Prusa Edition puts in a lot of nice comments in their G-code to kind of let you know where things are all grouped on. So the first thing that I want to actually look for is I want to find the first layer. Okay, and the way I look for that is I always look for a semicolon, and 0.3 is my first layer, because that was, remember, 0.3 millimeters thick for the first layer. And I look for this before layer change, all right? So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put in a comment here, and I'm going to say that this is the, let's see here, main badge, and I'm going to say it's in white. Okay, not real important here. Well, you know, actually, I'm going to actually say part 3. This would be easy if I need to do a search again. I'll be able to find my part. So part 3. All right, main badge white. This just gives me a clue. This is human readable. The printer ignores the comments, but it helps me find the stuff that I need. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is, after this G92E00, which sets the extruder to 0, I'm actually going to go to the after layer change, after the purging finished, and I'm actually going to put in an M600 here, all right? So what this is going to do is this is actually going to do my color change so that I can get to the white color, all right? Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up another file. Okay, so I'm going to go to the second one, which is gold. Now you notice this opens up in a new one. Now, a lot of the stuff you notice is the same. I have a whole bunch of stuff in the front. If I were to look at the other file, a lot of this is going to be pretty much identical. But what I want to find out is that 0.3 again, okay? So I'm going to hold Control-Shift and end, highlight to the end. Now, I don't want all this junk down here. So I'm going to hold Shift down. I'm going to go page up, page up, page up, page up, page up. What I'm going to look for is this thing that says filament specific end G code. And I want to go just above that, okay? What that filament specific end code is doing, or end G code, is that's the final stuff that happens at the end of the print. I don't want to copy that, otherwise I'm going to do things like turn off my extruder and my heated bed, okay? So I have this G code highlighted. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to my main body, all right? I'm going to go before part 3, and I'm going to hit paste or Control V. Okay. Now you notice I'm before part 3. I had all the part 2 in here. All right. Go back and look for that before layer change, after layer change, purging finished, and I'm going to put another M600 in here. All right. Now, being that I only have 3 colors, I really only need 2 filament changes, so this is the last M600 I'm going to need to put in. Now, lastly, I just need to open up the third file. Oops, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put in my comment, didn't I? Okay, so I'm going to say part 2, and I'm going to call this the UPS letters. All right, and I'm going to put in gold. All right, that's just, again, this is just for my own reference if I want to look at the file at a later date. Okay, I'm going to open up the third file. Again, we're working backwards, so we're going to go for the shield brown, which is part 1. Once again, look for that before layer change. Okay, Control-Shift end, hold down Shift, page up, page up, page up, until I find that filament specific NG code. I'm going to move up so I don't have that highlighted. There we go. Hit Control-C for copy. Go back to the main body. All right. I make sure I'm before that part 2. I hit paste. All right, it's all there. Control-Home to go to the top again. Now the last thing I want to do put in a comment, say part 1. We're going to say this is the shield brown. All right, and save this off. And there we have a single file for all 3 parts, all 3 colors. And it's just that simple. It's complex procedure all in all, but once you get used to this and do it time and again, it actually can go pretty quickly. It's fairly automatic. It does take a little bit of paying attention though. If you miss something, you might find that your extruder starts going nuts. You can always halt your printer at that point, examine your G-code. If you put in your comments, you should be able to examine things and make sure, oh, you know what, maybe I accidentally put in my go outside print level and maybe I had a skirt or maybe something like that. You know, depending on that, you can debug things. You can look at your comments, figure things out, and that might give you a clue as to where to start debugging again. But this G-code here, this main body 3, this is actually all ready to go to the printer. We have all 3 colors here. It'll start by laying down that brown color. So I know I need to lay down the, I need to load the brown first. And then I know that after the first M600, I need to go to gold. And then after the second M600, I need to put in the last color, which is going to be a white. And then I have my badge that I can stick through the cardboard. And obviously you can do this for anything. Anything you need to do multicolor, you can do this. You split it up into the separate parts. You lay down each one in turn, and make sure that you have a nice thick 0.3 layer or greater if you have a fatter nozzle. And you know, this opens up a whole world of possibilities for cool multicolor prints. If you want to do logos, if you want to do pictures, get creative, have fun with it, see what you can do. And you know what? If you do something with this technique, let me know on Twitter, leave a comment here, and show me what you've done. I'd be curious to see if this has been helpful. In any case, thanks for your attention. Have a good day.